What's up, my friends? Chào các bạn và chào mừng các bạn quay trở lại với podcast Slow and Clear của What's Up English. Today, I'm going to tell you about my trip to Hà Giang, and that's why I'm sitting to the side. So here, I can put pictures and videos for you guys to see what I'm talking about. Now, this trip was pretty crazy, to be honest. So today, I'm going to tell you about the highlights of the trip. For example, we got stuck at the bottom of a mountain for 5 hours. We took a really strange, interesting boat ride. And the third thing is that we literally saved a guy's life. So it's going to be a pretty interesting podcast, and I'm going to tell you all about it. But before we get started, if you'd like to support the channel and get high quality products to learn English at the same time, then check out my website, whatsupenglish.vn. Right now, you can get 2 products. The first one is my 1,000 most common words, which has 1,000 of the most common words, along with their IPA transcription, their meaning in Vietnamese, and a natural sentence in both English and Vietnamese so you know how to use the word. It also comes with slow and clear audio for every single word and sentence read by me. And if you want to improve your speaking and pronunciation, for example, many people can understand my podcast, but really have trouble with speaking. You can understand, but it's really hard to speak. So if that is you, then definitely check out my Complete American English pronunciation course. In this course, you'll learn how to clearly pronounce every single sound in American English. And you also get to practice speaking with hundreds of words and useful sentences for daily life. You'll also get a bonus shadowing course where I talk about a bunch of different topics so you can practice your speaking and pronunciation. The shadowing will help you speak more fluently and more naturally and automatically. There's a special tech coupon for 20% off, and this will expire on February 14. So make sure to get it before then, because after that, there will be no more coupon and it will be the normal price. So if you're interested, make sure to click the link in the description below. Okay, let's get started with the podcast. Okay, so a few months ago, my brother came to Vietnam from Canada to visit me. And on that trip, we did a trip to Hà Giang. So it was me, my brother, and my 2 close friends, Luke and Steve. And before you say, Carter, why would you go to Hà Giang after your brother just came to Vietnam for the first time? That must be really dangerous. But don't worry, he does mountain biking in Canada. He had an international driver's license for the motorbike, and we did some practice in Hanoi before we went to Hà Giang. So don't worry, he had experience, and we got practice in first. And he doesn't drive like a maniac. He drives very carefully and intelligently. So I wasn't worried. I know he's a smart guy. And anyway, so we started our trip to Hà Giang. The trip was about 9 or 10 days, and we started from Hanoi. So Steve, Luke, and I have been to Hà Giang before. Steve especially. He's been maybe like 5 or 6 times. So we all have some experience going to Hà Giang. And after we started our trip from Hanoi, we didn't take a night bus to Hà Giang. We started from Hanoi and we drove to Hà Giang. So I had my own bike. Luke had his own bike. but my brother and Steve, they both rented their own bikes. This is important for the story. So anyway, we all start the trip from Hanoi and everything is going fine. And then when we get out of the city in Hanoi, my friend Steve, his bike breaks down. It broke down pretty much on like a freeway, like a long road, and it didn't look like there was anywhere around us to fix the bike. So we went to this place. We walked the bike to a place where someone was selling iced tea, and we asked him if there was anywhere close by where we could fix the bike. Because this was outside of the city. Like you look around and there's really not much there. And the guy says, just go down that road about 200 meters and take a right. So we thought, okay, cool. And we started to, well, one person was pushing Steve's bike and we made it to the garage to fix the bike. So we got the bike fixed and we assumed everything was all good. Spoiler alert, everything was not all good, but we'll see why later. So anyway, we go to a homestay and we're staying there. We had dinner, had fun, had some rice wine, and we met a big group of Vietnamese people. So we just hung out with them for the night and everything was fun and normal. So the next few days we stayed at some different homestays. There was nothing too special about that. So I'll skip to when we went to the Nho Quế River. Now, right before we went to the Nho Quế River, Steve's bike broke down again. So we had to go to a garage to get it fixed. The mechanic had to fix his clutch, like his clutch discs. And I got the mechanic's number because this was the second time the bike broke down. And I figured it might break down again. So after the bike gets fixed, we make our way to the Nho Quế River. And for anyone who has ever been to the Nho Quế River before, you know how beautiful it is from the top of that mountain. Because from there, you can see down to the river, you can see the turquoise water and the trail that leads to it, and the mountains on the other side, because the river is like between two mountains in a valley, basically. And normally you would buy a ticket to go on the boats down in the river, but we didn't plan it too well. So we didn't buy a ticket. We just decided we'll go there and then we'll get a ticket or we'll pay them at the bottom, because that's what we did a few years ago, and it was totally okay. Before we went down to the Nho Quế River, we took some photos at the top and some videos, and we really enjoyed the scenery. I don't often say this word, but it was like breathtaking. It was really, really nice. And after we enjoyed the view, we started to head down to the river. Now, I don't know if you have been to the Nho Quế River before, then you'll know. But for those who have never been there, when you go down to the river, the path is really like winding, and there are a few parts that are really steep, and it takes about 20 minutes to get down to the bottom. So anyway, after we got to the bottom, we planned to go on the boat and take a little boat tour. But when we got there, everybody was painting their boats, so we couldn't do any tour. Since we had already driven down there, we figured, okay, let's just enjoy the river a bit. Let's just sit here, hang out, and then we will go back up. So after hanging out for around 20 minutes, we decided to go back up and get some lunch, because it was around 1 in the afternoon at that time, and we were starting to get hungry. But then after we got on the bikes to go up the mountain, guess what happened? Steve's bike broke down again. So now we're at the bottom of this mountain at the Nho Quế River, and his bike is broken down. There's absolutely no way we could push the bike up because it was a really heavy bike, and even just walking up that mountain with nothing would be a difficult workout. But luckily, I had the mechanic's number, so I called him. I said, please come down and help us. You know, we'll pay you for your time and for your service. Just please come down and help us because we really, really need your help. No one in the village by the Nho Quế River could fix our bike. So this guy was basically our only hope at getting this bike up the mountain. Now, luckily, he was really nice and he agreed to come down and help us. So after around 45 minutes, he came, and it took around 3 or 4 hours to fix the bike. And during this time, we were just waiting for him to fix the bike, hanging out, and people were walking by, staring at us, wondering what we were doing. There were cows there. It was a pretty funny scene. It even started to get dark at around like 5:30 or 6, but luckily he fixed the bike, and so we thanked him, we paid him, and then we got up the mountain and went to our homestay. And by that time, we were starving because we didn't even eat lunch. And so we had like the best dinner, one of the best dinners that I think we've all ever had. And we were not only really hungry, but the food at this homestay was really good as well. So now I'll fast forward to the crazy boat ride. Now we found this boat because we were following the maps that my friend had researched online. And it led us to go through these really narrow trails where if you fell to the right, then like it would not be good for you because it was quite steep and quite high. But after we got through those trails, it came to a river where the boat was. Now, as soon as they saw us, they started to bring the boat towards us. It's more kind of like a ferry for carrying bikes, but it's also pretty much just a raft made with bamboo sticks, maybe. I'm not totally sure. And it was moved by manpower. Like there was a cord there, and they would have to pull the cord to move the boat or the raft. I was a little bit worried because we had our 4 bikes on it, and there were times where water was coming up through the raft, and I thought, okay, I hope it can hold 4 bikes. But anyway, it turned out totally fine. Of course, the people knew what they were doing. So then after that, the next day, that's when the really crazy thing happened. So after that boat ride, we went to our homestay, had dinner, slept, and then the next day we began riding to our next destination. So on the way to the next destination, we were going down a long road. And as we were going, I was in the front and I could see something down the road, on basically still on the road. And so as I kept going and I could see it more clearly, I could tell that it was a man next to his bike, and it looked like he crashed. And so we all drove up to him, and when we got to him, we could see that, yeah, this guy definitely crashed. It was really bad. His helmet was completely like destroyed on this side, like scratched and broken. He had blood on both of his elbows, both of his knees, his hands. Basically every like part of his body looked like it had been damaged from this crash. And when he stood up, he got up really slowly, and it looked like he had hit his head. So I asked him, do you know what year it is? And he said, I can't really I don't really know off the top of my head. I don't really know. So if he doesn't know what year it is, it's pretty clear that he had a head injury, probably a concussion or something like that. At this point, we know we have to get him to a hospital. And luckily, there was someone driving by in a car, and we flagged him down and we asked him, where is the closest hospital? We need to bring this guy to the hospital because he just had a really bad fall. And this guy, he said, oh, okay, like get him in the car. I'll drive him to the hospital. We said, okay, great. We will follow you. So I took the guy's bike, the guy who fell down, and I went with Luke and he went on his own bike. So Luke and I followed this car all the way to the hospital, and it was around 20 kilometers away, pretty far. So when we got there, there was pretty much no one there because this was a hospital in a really small town. So I walked in, I was looking for someone, and I didn't see anyone. Honestly, I just saw a few chickens walking around. So I thought, uh-oh. But as I went further into the hospital, I found some people and I told them like, hey, we found this guy. He fell on the road. He's seriously injured. He hit his head. He's bleeding. Please help us. And the funny thing was that they seemed more surprised about how I could speak Vietnamese. And they were saying like, oh, your Vietnamese is so good. And I was saying like, okay, like, thank you. But we have to check this guy out because he could be seriously hurt. So that was kind of funny, to be honest. And then we brought him downstairs in this hospital to where the doctor was. And the doctor looked at him, took off his jacket, and we saw that he was more injured than we thought because we couldn't see under the jacket until he took it off. And that hospital didn't have any machines like x-rays to check on him. So the doctor said, we need to send him to a hospital in Cao Bang, and there they can see how he is injured. And so we ordered a truck, sent him to that hospital. The truck brought his bike along with himself, and I got his WhatsApp phone number so I could stay in touch with him and help him if he needed anything. So after he got to the hospital and got the x-rays done, the next day he told me he had 5 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and a ruptured kidney, along with severe cuts and burns on his arm. But anyway, after that, he went back to Canada and everything is all good. So I guess the moral of the story is that when you go to Hazang, just be careful. If it's, don't drive too fast. Be careful of the trucks. Everyone says how dangerous it is because there are so many accidents. But if you just drive carefully, stay on the side of the road, don't try to pass people on corners or turns or anything crazy like that, then you should be okay. So that's going to wrap up the story. Here is the last photo we took on that trip of the 4 of us together. I think it's a great photo. It kind of feels like it sums up the whole trip right there. Just we were tired and it had been a crazy week. So anyway, that is the story of my trip to Hazang. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You can write in the comments any experiences or trips, crazy things that happened. Write it and I'll try to check it out. But yeah, that's it for this podcast. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.